Hi, my name is Sam, and this video is going to have its focus as seeking to onboard any individual that would help doing online work. The biggest problem we've had is people that have capability to use the programs. The main programs we use are the Google suite of apps. Google Calendar is one of the main points of departure in terms of beginning work. Now we go. So in order to do that, we make a schedule. A schedule is visualized from the beginning of the week, the beginning of a month in periods of a week. So here you can see the first week of this month, and we schedule at the beginning by week, and then we do half a month. So you can tell if somebody's going to be working, but to be honest, nobody has scheduled in advance. Nobody's committed long enough or been capable to make a 2 or 3 week schedule. So it's been a great frustration just finding online help. So making a schedule is not the job. It's a requirement, and it's the way we communicate. So here you can see the first week I had scheduled. One day I didn't work. The others I have posted as available. I isolate the calendar so that I could see this is just my schedule, and then I overlay my efforts and the clock and other tasks on the same view when it's necessary. But here you can see week by week schedule, very basic. But this speaks and tells you, oh, I'm going to be most likely available to work at these times. Everything changes, everything shifts, but at least we have this noted. We use the color yellow to signify my word of my availability, as well as not being available on a particular day. I have a summary that covers the week, and then I have individual events during the day. And some people work shifts, so they end up with more than one shift per that period. And we use the Google Chrome as a workspace that allows you to view a certain look, or a view, and we name the view. So I take the position as technician, and then my initials. We do the same thing for administrator. And this group is that view. So you can see the view for, and then I exceeded the view here. But you could do it for a day, for a week, for a month. You could do it for the period that we're looking at, as well as the prior and the next. This is the base. Time is how we display time events through the calendar. We post them in subsets using the spreadsheet. So my spreadsheet, my workbook for my events, we call it my DWS, my daily worksheet, where all of my events, and then it's a package for the entire year. So it's a misnomer, not a daily, but all my events are in that. And then each individual who's involved also has his or her own DWS. So it's as though your subset of your data belongs to you and is accessible there. Visually through time is the calendar. We collaborate using a Google document, and we create one for each date's work events. We summarize them in a week. We have another one for the month, quarter, half, and then the year. We do collaboration real time using Google Chat, sometimes WhatsApp. But all 4 of these points are needed in order to be actively engaged with the process of administration and involvement with, in this case, I'm a technician in the field and I need assistance documenting, relating and linking, identifying, and then also scheduling work events, prior site visits, and work that was performed, much of which is cyclical, so it can be rescheduled, whether it be monthly, annually, or triannually. The level of work could support 4 to 5 full-time admin, which is 40 to 50 hours a week. The problem has been people's capability with and commitment to use the tools. It seems like everybody's a student, and I've tolerated that for years, actually, but there has to be continuous progress and evidence of it. So one thing we've done is we've set up definition of symbols, abbreviations, words, names, and types. Each of these is distinct, and the symbolic representation of those is also distinct. So just like in Linux, case matters. Lowercase represents a word. The uppercase at the beginning represents a name. All uppercase represents an entity or a type. Symbols, we adopt existing workspaces, so we're using ANSI and Unicode, and then we have subsets of other that are industry specific, and some of them are different standards from computing, from the petroleum industry, or from different areas that we find ourselves touching upon, which include, in this case, I'm in the United States, it's Florida Administrative Code, which is the law pertaining to the petroleum industry. The PEI or API is Petroleum Equipment Nomenclature, and American Petroleum Institute, which relates to the equipment and the terminology that we're using. So everything we're looking toward is point-based. We symbolize a point as the bracket, space, a dot, and then a space and a bracket. That symbolizes the focal point of what we're discussing, and it's expected that we orient those points in a paradigm that I believe is called cellular automata, whereby we see a point and we recognize that any given point is going to have a foundation and an ideal. It's going to have a prior, the focal point is the present, and it's going to have something that's next. It's going to exist on the four layers that we consider the basis: a general, a specific, and then a unique in terms of an instance. And then it's also going to have dual aspects of an event and an entity. The event represents the action portion or the time-related aspect, whereas the entity is that thing that doesn't change and is basically free of time or timeless. We group these together so that we do have them in an entity or a package that has that dualistic nature. It represents the focus, but then those time events we group, and if there's a large amount, we package by year. But the tree-like structure would have as its root the entity, and those branches are normally packaged by year, and then the instances are just subgrouped from year to half to quarter, month, and day. Day represents a container for all the events. Events represent a container for effort. And effort represents actions applied to objects. Focus represents those things we view and center our attention so that we have a point representing our focus. Implicit in that which we're going to create is, as an explicit, the objective. So we have our focus with a related link, which turns our action into an entity. That's the goal, to transform all our efforts into packaged events that are entities that we can share as a point. Click and you go to that relative or respective association. Too many words, and I found most people don't understand the meaning of the words, much less the symbols, and I haven't met anybody who represents the letter as having that message. So implicit in a letter is the message, and the symbolic nature of every step means that the complexity grows, and the complication arises when there's a misunderstanding at the level of the symbolic. So we're explicitly noting the symbolic, and we're associating it with the definition, the explanation, the example. And we start with the schedule. Schedule represents a person's word of their commitment. Without adequate time, there's no need to progress. We also orient that time in the weeks. So for instance, the present is the 3rd week of July. This represents my time available. Thank you.